Over the first half of our semester, we have learned 5 different similes for what organizations are like. The classical theory taught that organizations are like the cogs of a machine. Each person is in their proper place and works together. The humanistic theory taught organizations are like a family. Everyone is motivated to do their best as they work together. The systems of diversity taught that organizations are like living organisms. They are diverse and connected in many ways. The innovation and creativity theory taught they are like brains, whereas culture taught that they were like individual cultures. Hi, I'm Mariah Mosier, and today we will be talking about the humanistic theory. So let's start with the great example we used in the introduction of class, the Taj Hotel. The story behind the Taj Hotel is in November of 2008, a group of Palestinian terrorists attacked the Taj and 6 other hotels across India, targeting foreign visitors. The staff of the hotel, instead of abandoning these visitors, followed the terrorists, radioing in their positions and helping guests escape. There is even the story of the staff of the restaurant who formed a human shield to protect their customers from harm, and almost all of them lost their lives in the process. In a news article released in India, it said the hotel was one of several Mumbai landmarks attacked by Pakistan-based militant in an assault that lasted over 60 hours, killing 166 people. NPR released another great story, asking the question that everyone was thinking. They said, there was the story of the kitchen employees who formed a human shield to assist guests who were evacuating and lost their lives as a result. Of the telephone operators who, after being evacuated, chose to return to the hotel so that they could call guests and tell them what to do. Of Kamabir Singh Khan, the general manager of the Taj, who worked to save people even after his wife and 2 sons, who lived on the 6th floor of the hotel, died in the fire set by the terrorist. Often during a crisis, a single hero or a small group of heroes who take action and risk their lives will emerge. But what happened at the Taj was much broader. During the crisis, dozens of workers, waiters and busboys and room cleaners who knew the back exits and paths through the hotel chose to stay in a building under siege until their customers were safe. They were the very model of ethical and selfless behavior. What could possibly explain it? Well, here's what explains it. The Taj used the humanistic approach theory in their organization, and this is evident in 3 areas. It's evident in their recruitment, in their mission, and in their policy. To recruit, the Taj didn't go to outside of the country or to the most wealthy areas. They went to the poor rural areas and small towns. And instead of going to first-tier business schools, they always went to second- and third-tier business schools. This created an environment where all of the employees felt gratitude and thankfulness for being given such a great opportunity to work at such a large hotel. The hotel's mission was to delight the guest. That meant if a guest said their favorite flower was the lily, that one of the employees would have a bouquet of lilies waiting for them when they came back from a business meeting. And this included, busboys to the front desk. It didn't leave anyone out. And then with this came a policy of immediate recognition. When an employee did something right, management would immediately go to them and recognize what they did. In the words of our teacher, they identified so strongly with the organization that they felt that it was their home. And this feeling of a family, feeling of home, is what helped them to make the decision to protect their guest. So how do we create this feeling? How do we create this approach in an organization? One of our readings in week 4 talked about how the studies of Mayo, Rothenberg, Lewin, and McGregor helped outline the humanistic theory. Today I'm just going to be talking about the Hawthorne studies and Douglas McGregor. The Hawthorne studies were conducted by Elton Mayo and Fritz Rothenberg, and they learned that people want to feel important and be recognized as individuals. They also learned that interpersonal and group relationships help to determine productivity. Douglas and McGregor added to this in the 1950s and 60s, saying, comparing theory X versus theory Y. Now, theory X is the classical theory, we're cogs of a machine, and theory Y is this humanistic approach. And he found that leaders who encourage subordinates' autonomy and responsibility are more effective than those who closely control their subordinates. In other words, trust inspires quality and responsibility. This was reaffirmed in Chapter 8 of our readings, where it broke down the different ways we can reward people and appraise employees. 8.1 talked about performance appraisals, which are used for feedback to employees, self-development for employees, reward systems, and personnel decisions such as promotions, transfers, and terminations. 8.2 talked about the different techniques you can use for performance appraisals. These are the graphic rating scale, one of the most popular methods, the critical incident techniques, which records good and bad behavior. It has the behaviorally anchored rating scale, the behavioral observation scales, management by objective, and assessment centers, which we'll talk about in the next slide. 8.3 talked about the most effective way to give feedback. 8.4 talked about all the different kinds of reward systems there are. As we saw with the Taj motel, that there was that immediate acknowledgement when someone did something good. And that kind of feels like a family because you're showing you're proud of your employees. But there's also other ways. I found money is not the best reward because it takes it a little bit from the family aspect to more of get the job done so you can get more money. But 8.5 does talk about how money can be used in individual and group incentive plans to help people grow. Oddly enough, this connected in my brain to Maslow's humanistic theory. Maslow's humanistic theory of personality states that people achieve their full potential by moving from basic needs to self-actualization. I find in this organizational approach, people have this whole pyramid met. First, they're getting paid enough for their psychological needs, and then they have their safety needs met. And then after that, more than most organizations, they have the belongingness and the love and these tight relationships, which builds their esteem. And finally, all of that being met helps them be the best employee they can be and the best people they can be. So let's talk about techniques of performance appraisals. In the book, we saw this scale, and it shows kind of the rating of each kind of assessment. And what we learn from the book is you get what you pay for. You get what you invest. So the more money you're willing to spend and the more time you're willing to take, the more accurate your results will be. So it's really not that big of a shock that those who take the least time and do the least amount of digging really comes out with an inaccurate score and are the most susceptible to issues. So let's come back to the Taj and where it is today. This picture right here is the staff of the Taj Hotel 2 years after it was attacked and a couple $1 million into its restoration. Here they honor the fallen staff and they reunite as a family. In the words of a local paper, this says, "The flagship property, this vulnerable old lady, is going to reopen in the same glory and the same splendor of more than 100 years, Tata said, his voice cracking. The hotel is due to reopen on Sunday, India's Independence Day." And that was back in 2010. The Taj teaches that the humanistic approach does more than create an organization. It creates morals, it creates ethic, it creates motivation that comes from wanting to do your best and from actually caring about what you do. And so I believe that the humanistic approach is the best approach that an organization can take to really gain loyalty and to keep their organization thriving, even in the face of extreme challenges such as the challenge that this hotel faced. My works cited, you'll see that I have a couple of our readings cited from Embry and Black and Bright, our book. I also used a couple different articles, one from NPR and one from a local Indian news source that talks about the Taj. And then finally I used an article published in Boundless Psychology that talked about Maslow's effect. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you so much for your teaching.